It's Joe Bingham! Give it up!
Hello everyone. You alright? A little bit about me. I tried growing a beard recently. I say recently, this is about 6 years of growth. Last time I had a wet shave, I was 22. I got ID'd for Lucozade. That's the story of my life. It's pathetic masculinity. To top that off, I'm from a place called Birmingham, up the road. That's about the right response for anyone who's been to Birmingham. Birmingham, for the last 5 years, has been voted the least sexy accent in the UK. Now that you're listening to me, you're thinking I can get on board with that? Sounds about right. In a somewhat related poll, 75% of people said they'd rather have chlamydia than the Birmingham accent. I can tell you I've had chlamydia and I took a tablet and I still sound like this, so I can see their point. They tried teaching you French in secondary school in Birmingham. Can you imagine 30 people with my accent butchering the French language back at that poor woman from Paris? She must have felt like it was a racially motivated hate crime for her. Honestly. It wasn't something I took up in further education. And to top it all off, we've now got the Peaky Blinders knocking about in Birmingham, haven't we? But I don't have the Birmingham accent where you sound like Tommy Shelby and people go weak at the knees. I just constantly sound like I've received mildly bad news recently. Like, someone once told me that, you know, your voice isn't particularly engaging, so what better hobby to get involved in than public speaking? Somebody said that my voice always sounded quite bleak, which I didn't agree with, until volunteering for a shift at Samaritans, and by the end of the night someone had rang up and taught me how to doing it, so... It wasn't great. It hasn't helped dating all that much, because you have to rely on your personality a fair bit in dating, you know what I mean? Even with the online stuff, you can have the physical at the start, but then you rely on the chat. My best mate, he said to me, the reason you're struggling with first dates is because my chat, I was apparently coming on too strong on first dates. I was asking questions like, where do you see yourself in a few years? Do you see yourself getting married, having kids? And he said, that's too strong. I said, I don't see how. He said, just go for the complete opposite of what you've been talking about. So I started saying to him, what song do you want played at your funeral? And... yeah. To top it off, women apparently love a good listener, so I just stared them out until they answered as well. Hasn't bred much more success. I moved down here pretty much at the start of the pandemic, which, if that's not a review for how shit Birmingham is, I don't know what is, to be honest. I thought I'd rather do fuck all in London than do it at home. And then kind of when things started easing up, I started going on a few more dates. I should have known, moving to a place like Bethnal Green, the first date I went on, she started asking if I was interested in astrology and star signs. I said I resented the fact that apparently planets made me make bad decisions. I'm more than capable of that myself. The date didn't go particularly well. She said she was disappointed that I didn't sound like one of the Peaky Blinders. I said, well, I'm disappointed that you're talking to me about star signs, to be honest. She then asked me what my birthstone was. I said, honestly, rock bottom at this point. She got talking about travelling, stuff like that. She asked me where I'd been travelling. She'd been to Thailand. I mixed it up a bit. I'd been to the Middle East most recently before lockdown. I went to Egypt. I got a bracelet from Egypt. This is apparently my surname in hieroglyphics, but it's a bit like when people get a tattoo in Chinese and they get told it means something. It means something else, because to me, this does mean my surname in hieroglyphics. But to everyone I show, it just means I won't stop talking about that time I went to Egypt last year. So, but I started telling her about my trip to Egypt and started telling her a bit about history. I started saying, do you ever wonder why everyone hates British people when we go abroad? It's not just because we constantly shout instructions at people louder until they just stop listening to us. It's because obviously the Empire rolled through a few years ago and just fucked everything up. And there's only 22 countries in the history of the world that Britain have never invaded. And Sweden's one of them, if you're interested. Probably not. But I thought it was odd that Sweden was one of the ones we didn't invade, because it's on the doorstep, isn't it? So you may as well. kind of got me thinking, like, the banter back in the day was probably that the boys rolled through countries and just levelled everything. You know what I mean? That was the laughs.